Hey everybody, I'm James and welcome to the Esprit Tech live stream episode 7. Today we want to talk to you about sailplanes. We get a lot of first-time sailplane pilots that purchase their first airplane from us. We have a lot of long-time pilots, of course, and competition-level pilots that shop with us. But we've noticed in the industry and the shows that we go to, a lot of people don't really understand sailplanes, or their picture of sailplanes is an old guy sitting in a swivel chair with his big hat on and looking up the sky for hours. And I'll tell you, I was kind of the same way. I always flew aerobatic airplanes, and I played with some helicopters a little bit, and everything I flew moved really fast and tumbled around and flew on different axes, and I always looked at sailplanes as kind of that slow and boring, and there wasn't a whole lot to offer. And then a friend of mine introduced me to discus launch sailplanes, and for me, like, always looked kind of cool, you know, these guys are hucking these things, and he told me you could throw this airplane, this 60-inch 7-ounce airplane with no motor, and you could launch it to 150 feet. And I there was no way, can't do it. So he took me out to the field. I watched him fly. I threw the airplane a few times, and you know, okay, it's not bad. It's not, you know, it's fun. It's kind of cool throwing the airplane, but it really was just throw it up, fly it around, it'll come down. Until I caught my first thermal, and I was hooked from then on. There's, for me and for a lot of the sailplane guys, there's nothing like being able to manage the energy to the point where the airplane climbs out without a power system. It's probably the closest to nature you're going to be while you're flying, because you're reading the air, you're reading the bugs, you're reading the birds. And of course, that thermal side, that's only one part of the sailplane equation. Sailplanes covers a lot of different disciplines, both powered and non-powered. And some of those that people have seen are probably the big arrow tow and winch launch scale sailplanes. You know, these things are all the way up to 10 meters, extremely detailed. They're gorgeous in the air. You know, that's kind of at the top level, so it's your more expensive side of the sport or the hobby. Require a tow system, you know, so that's a big investment or big involvement, and so there aren't as many guys in that, but that's one of those sides of the hobby where, you know, the the detail geek in you is going to come out, as if you're into the little things in the interior and the pilot, and the scale plane thing might appeal to you. And we do sell some of that here, of course, and if you have questions on that, we're here for you on those. Some of the other things, of course, are things like the thermal duration planes, the competitive side of it, everything from your local ALES contest, which is the altitude limited, all the way up to your crazy winch launch, task-based competition sailplanes. All of those fall kind of into that sailplane category. So you can go from these little 60-ounce airplanes that are only moving at a walking pace, you hand catch, you hand launch, all the way up to your hotliners, which are doing 240 miles per hour off power and making laps on a pylon type circuit. It really is a big spectrum of things that fall into the sailplane side, and each of those has kind of its own appeals. Everything all the way to the non-powered parasails, like our paramotor kits without the motor setup. Guys are sloping those all over the country, all over the world, and really falling in. And that's another side of the sailplane game that we don't have here in Florida, being where we are, not a whole lot of, is slope. Slope is huge in places that have access to the hills and the wind and the conditions that they need. Sailplanes are, I think, kind of like the broadest category within our hobby. There's a little bit of something for everyone, whether you're the builder guy or the speed guy, or the hippie guy like me, where you want to stand out there and feel the wind on your legs and watch the birds and watch the trees. To the scale guys, it kind of covers everybody. So we put together a little video for you, covering a little bit of the sailplane hobby. Take a look at this, and we'll be back in just a little bit. Man, I love that video. Jason did a great job putting that together for me. I don't know if you guys caught that. There's a clip in there with a sailplane that is really moving. A lot of people aren't aware of what dynamic soaring is. Just wanted to throw this out there. If you haven't looked into dynamic soaring, or you don't know what it is, all you guys that are trapped at home with this coronavirus thing, and you wanted to fall down the rabbit hole and kill some time, check out dynamic soaring. Check out Spencer's videos that are out there. He may or may not, I'm not sure, still hold the world record for an RC vehicle at over 500 miles per hour in a non-powered model. So check it out. That's some really cool stuff. Definitely, like I say, a way to kill some time while you're trapped at home. Next part of this I want to get into is the sailplane types that we sell and what differentiates them, how they're made, what the difference are in materials, and why you see a big cost spread between, from one end of the hobby to the other. And most of what we sell here fall into either the sport sailplane category or the scale sailplane category. I want to talk to you about the sport sailplanes that we sell and kind of how they're put together and what the differences are. Most of the ones we sell are by Top Model, which is a Czech company, and we're going to start out with a kind of where you would start in a sailplane. That's your next step up from foam. This is an all built up construction airplane. There is a small amount of carbon used in this airplane. This does have a carbon leading edge spar and a carbon tube spar that acts also as your joiner tube in the center. The rest of the wing obviously is built up. It is kind of your basic balsa and covering construction, tape hinges, which is kind of standard in this type of airplane, and very, very simple to build and set up. Cut some covering, glue some servos in, build your push rods and your hardware, and you're down the road and flying. From something like this in a built-up construction, you can also go, and I'm going to come back and show these in overhead so you get a little better idea of what they are. But you can go to something like this. Now this is also built-up construction. Let me try and beat the glare. This does not make use of the carbon that we saw in the last one, but this does include a D-box front end. Basically what that means is from the spar forward, it is sheeted completely top and bottom from spar edge to spar edge. So that gives you a lot more rigidity in the wing without using the composite materials and keeps the airplane very light. Balsa construction, and then of course sheeted over top of that. Ribs are all capped, as well as having the D-box. Another basic built-up model. This is another entry model from Top Model. If you're looking for the names of these models, go ahead and hit us up in the comments or reach out to us after the video or at any point where it's convenient for you, and we can help lead you to the right airplane. Again, kind of where you would start out the next step up from a foam airplane. From these, now typically most of your built-up models are going to be very similar to those first two. You're going to have basic balsa construction, typically a sandwich spar, which is going to be either plywood and balsa sandwich or carbon and plywood sandwich. Some of them you'll even find the carbon tube spar like what we had in the first example. Hey guys, if you can see me, sorry about that. We are experiencing some technical difficulties here. We just had the internet for the whole area go down for a moment there. So unfortunately, with everything going on, with everybody trapped at home, there just isn't the bandwidth locally to handle it. So bear with us. Hopefully we don't go down again. We were talking about the Pulsar, and I am going to have Jason go, if we can, to the overhead camera, see if we've still got it. And we can give you a little bit close-up or better close-up view of how these are constructed. Perfect, thank you. So, like we mentioned earlier, all of the ribs in the construction are capped in carbon. The trailing edge is flat stock carbon. It does use a carbon and Kevlar wound main spar, so you have a sandwich of ply and carbon that is grooved and wound in Kevlar thread. It's an unbelievably strong spar with a very, very low weight. That's one of the keys to that. Another one of the nice features, if I can pick it up on the overhead, is going to be their I-beam joiner. They don't use a square or round joiner. They actually use an I-beam shaped joiner, so that helps prevent twist in the model. Let me see if we can pick up a couple of different shapes here with some reflection. Unbelievable quality out of a built and covered model. Typically, I'm going to go ahead and actually set this off to the side. We go back to the main. In our sport sailplanes from top model, this is typically what you'll see for a fuselage. This is molded fiberglass. It does have a couple of carbon spread toe spars molded in. It is fairly light. It is fairly rigid. It does have plenty of space for your electronics, for your batteries. It does have the bell crank for the full flying stab built into the tail. Make sure you guys can see that there. But it's not the lightest, and it's from. You'll notice they're already done for you. They use a wrapped carbon fiber boom that is kind of mortise and tenon or keyed to the pod, so it's very simple. There's not any alignment to worry about with these. You just want to make sure when you glue it up, you do jig it fairly straight, tape it down to the table, make sure everything's in a straight line on both axes. Really easy to build. And then, of course, the tail pylons are always built in, as well as having anchor points for the empennage in the rear. So very, very nice to work with. One of the nice things with this is it is much lighter, even once you have glued the pieces together, than the typical molded fiberglass fuselage. And it is much more rigid. So again, just another reason why you see those Pulsars at just the next step up in a price point. Compared to the other sport sailplanes. This is a perfectly acceptable airplane if you want to go out and fly a little higher level ALES or limited motor run competitions with. It will keep up with most of the higher end airplanes. We have a joke around here, and we've always said it: if you can't thermal with a Pulsar, you just can't thermal. You're in the wrong sport. This airplane is made to catch lift, from the lightest lift to the biggest hat sucker lift. The Pulsar is going to be there. It's going to give you what you need and make you really happy. We have very few guys who have bought a Pulsar who are unhappy with the performance of the airplane. Now, we showed you a couple of the others as far as the construction techniques. The last one we want to talk about, of course, is all composite. Now, all composite differs a little bit, of course. Typically, you are going to see a higher price. Because of the construction methods required to build something. These are molded composite airplanes typically, so there's a lot of handwork, there's a lot of machine work ahead of doing them as far as building molds, building processes, so typically the cost is going to be higher. They are much more rigid because they are a solid structure. Typically they will be either molded over a solid core, or hollow molded, as in the case of most of the sailplanes. This is an Angela. This is from RCRCM. This is obviously a little bit more unique as far as the plan form. This is a rudderless aircraft. It is a Delta Elevon type setup as far as your radio setup. It does have flaps. If you're one of those guys that likes to go fast and still wants to play a little bit in the thermals, something like this is really what you want to look at. You don't want to overspeed or overstress your typical sailplane, sport sailplane. Something like this is going to take much higher loads. If you're a guy in an area where the wind level is really high, or like I said, you want to go really fast, throw the loops, throw the rolls, have lots of fun, spin it all over the place. Something like this is something that would probably interest you. Hollow molded, full composite construction. They do use square tube spars, which are extremely rigid and will take very high loads. We use multiplex connectors to join the wings, so to make them very easy to join the wing panels together. And actually, let me go ahead and see if we can separate one of the panels here, and we will set this guy down and give you an idea how they're built. They are fully molded. So you see the pocket for the spar molded in. Your connector space is pre-molded in, so when you're building this and setting it up, you epoxy your connector directly into each side and the wing just plugs in, so you're not playing or fiddling with cables. These have recessed hinges so that they are extremely slippery and extremely fast and a lot of fun. This particular airplane is really cool looking and really fun to fly, and will really get down and boogie. So it's one of the ones to look at if it's something like that you're interested in. We do have those available on the site, so make sure you check them out. The other thing that we kind of want to get into a little bit is the sailplane programming side. A lot of our pilots out there are flying the fantastic Jetty radio system, and we don't want you to forget that that's kind of what we do. So if you're getting into your first sailplane, whether you picked it up from us here at Esprit or it's something that you picked up somewhere else, and you get into setting up your programming, don't forget that we do have a really good sailplane programming video up on the YouTube page. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a little clip of that, and if you want to watch the rest of that, of course, don't hesitate to jump on the site and you can watch that in its entirety. Okay guys, let's get into setting up our full house sailplane. In this video we're going to cover all of the basic setup as well as the mixing that you're going to need. We are going to do flight modes for our camber control, butterfly, aileron differential, and that should just about cover the setup. So we're going to go ahead and go all the way through this now. Hey guys, welcome back. Hey, if you want to see the rest of that video, log on to YouTube, enter Esprit Tech into the search bar, and go to our page. That is a full, comprehensive sailplane programming video to walk you from the beginning to the end. If this happens to be the first plane you're setting up, go back one step further, and we did a video for setting up a trainer from beginning to end that will pick up some of the beginning points that we kind of gloss over in the second video, as it was the second video in a series. Next part of the video I want to get into is sailplane accessories. While we do sell a ton of sailplanes, we don't want you to forget that if you're going to outfit a sailplane, we have all of the accessories that you're going to need. That counts for whether you're building a great big scale sailplane and you want to run a extender on the front or a motor on the front of that rather than aero tow. We do offer our Elite Series FES motors. Fantastic for your big scale setups. I think all the way up to 8 or 10 cells to be able to power those up with. Pair that up with one of our Elite Series ESCs, and of course one of our offset RFM spinners. The offset in the RFM allows it to lay the process needed basic outrunner. We can set you up with that. We have some of the fully contained outrunners from Aximotor, which are called the Cyclone series, which have no moving parts externally, but they are not an in-runner, they are an outrunner. Moving from there, you can go into things like the Jetty Phaser Race motor for your high power setups, your competition models, and into the Hacker B series competition motors. Fantastic little motors. These are like little jewels. Very precise gearbox, very well-round motor. Very capable power setup if you're going into the competition level airplanes. To match up with those, we have from Jetty and from Elite, as well as our little speed controllers from Ray. If you're building your first sailplane or really entry-level basic sailplane, you can start out with the Ray Series ESC. Super basic, import ESC, programs with a small program card, very inexpensive, and get you up and get you flying. You want to move into something that's a lot nicer than that, a little bit higher step up in price. You can go into the Elite Series ESCs. These are based on the popular Jetty Spin series, program using the same program device and use most of the same programming. Very reliable, very well proven basis for the speed controllers. They do data log, but they do not give live telemetry. So if you're flying Jetty and you want to see live telemetry from the speed controller, directly from the speed controller. The only option that you have is to go into the Mezen Pro Series controllers. These are small, lightweight controllers starting at 55 amp and going up. They do give you full telemetry, including all of the battery, which is the voltage, amperage, and capacity, temperature, RPM, and PWM value. They are fully programmable. They will work with any in-run or out-rudder motor because you do set the pole count and the timing yourself. You have the ability to change or set the acceleration and deceleration rates as well. So if you are building a sailplane, you are a jetty pilot, and you want to get that telemetry, this is definitely the ticket for you. We also sell things like spinners, props, spoilers, and other accessories through the site. Don't forget, we do offer the Jetty Dytex line of servos. Both the Eco line and the full telemetry line are available through Esprit Tech. So if you're building a new sailplane and you want the best in capability and you want the telemetry from the servos, you can definitely go with the Jetty Dytex telemetry line. If you're just looking for a fantastic servo from a good manufacturer, check out the Eco line Dytex servos. They are another really good option. We do, of course, have the old standbys with the high-tech and the other. If you are building a sailplane and you need the small things, the little bits and pieces, wing locks or servo covers for the wings, we do offer servo covers in plastic and carbon. If you're working in scale, we do offer things like spoilers, both mechanical and electrical, as well as any other accessory that you may need to finish the project that you're working on. If you're having a problem getting something finished, can't find the parts, reach out. It's probably on our site, and we can probably help you get that project finished. We do offer services if you buy a sailplane from us. One of the things people hate to do is install the firewall in a sailplane. That is something we can do for you here for a small cost. Makes it very easy. We cut the nose, we install the firewall, we send you the airplane and let you finish the model. If you're looking for build services, that is something we offer on a very limited basis. So if that is what you're looking for, make sure you reach out ahead of time, and we can tell you whether or not we can get you in on the schedule. Well, guys, this is all about sailplanes. We're glad that you joined us this week. Make sure you tune in next live stream. I'm sure we'll have something great for you too.